Analysts argue that the president may be bending the law in his argument challenging the independent panel probe in relation to the responsibility to report the alleged theft of foreign currency on his Phala farm 2 years ago. In his papers before the Apex Court, the president suggests that the people who are obliged to report the crime were the managers and not himself. The report found, among other things, that the fact that there is no case number to date is proof that the manner in which the purported reporting was made was irregular and unlawful.
My sense is that the president is really contorting the law, and I don't read Section 34 of PRECA as putting that obligation on the management of the closed corporation, but rather on the member of the closed corporation, because that would be the person who actually runs the business.
The president contends that the panel overlooked the fact that serious misconduct and the serious violation of the Constitution are confined by the rules of the National Assembly to deliberate misconduct by the president acting in bad faith. He asserts that the panel did not inquire into his bad faith and thus could not rationally conclude that the sufficient evidence of his misconduct exists without an assessment of whether he acted in bad faith. The panel, however, says bad faith can be deduced from the nature and circumstances surrounding the violation of the Constitution and the law. Piri explains.
So when you basically put the president's oath of office together with the type of violations that are considered in this particular instance, specifically the anti-corruption violations and the code of ethics violations, then you're in a situation where you should infer bad faith rather than seek to prove an intention of malice or bad faith on the part of the president.
The president further described former State Security Agency head Arthur Fraser's allegations as speculation without being underpinned by fact. He argues that the panel ought to have determined whether sufficient evidence exists to warrant an impeachment process. The panel was, however, limited in their powers and mandate. Piri says the president has exposed the loopholes in Rule 129 of the National Assembly.
The rule itself has really set up the conundrum for the panel in this particular instance, in the sense that the panel is required to receive any type of information and does not have the powers to ensure that that information becomes verified and tested. So the information that comes into the panel is not of the evidentiary nature that the president is referring to here, and the panel doesn't have the powers to elevate that information into proper evidence through the subpoenaing and calling of relevant witnesses and taking statements under oath.
While an impeachment process in Parliament is set to commence with a vote next Tuesday, the governing party intends to vote against the adoption of the report. Canny, Maphanga, SABC News, Johannesburg.